He didn't storm in. He didn't scream. He didn't even break a sweat. He just walked in. Like he owned the place. The bank's lobby was quiet, just the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the shuffle of morning customers. Then he stepped up to the counter. His voice was low. Direct. Not angry. Deliberate. Put the money in the bag. No one noticed. Not at first. There was no mask. No weapon drawn. Just a look. It was only later, as surveillance was reviewed, that investigators realized how bold it had been. A man robbing a bank in full daylight, disappearing without a single scream. What no one knew then was that this was just the beginning. The man who called himself Oso Blanco would go on to rob 14 banks, evade capture for months, survive a shootout with federal agents, and pull off one of the most brazen prison escapes in modern history. This isn't just a heist story. It's a manhunt. A betrayal. A lie disguised as a legend. Kindly like this video and subscribe now and stay with us, because the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Thanks for supporting the channel. And by the end of this story, you'll see why not all legends deserve to be remembered. December 29, 1998. Northeast Albuquerque. The morning began like any other. Tellers checked their drawers. Customers shuffled in. No alarms. No raised voices. Nothing. But at another branch just a few miles away, a different story had already played out. Earlier that morning, the same man had already robbed a bank, with the same calm, chilling precision. Now, it was happening again. A second teller. A second branch. The man leaned in. Whispered the same request. Give me the money. This time, the teller followed protocol and slipped in a die pack. The man left quietly. No commotion. No chasse. To those inside the bank, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But behind the counter, a silent alarm was triggered, and across town, federal agents were already on their way. In the US, robbing a bank isn't just a crime, it's a federal offense. That means when the alarm goes off, the FBI answers the call. Special Agent Scott Campbell and John Tanberg from the Albuquerque field office responded immediately. Both had seen dozens of bank robberies. In the late 90s, Albuquerque had one of the highest per capita rates in the country. But something about this one felt different. It was quiet, Tanberg later recalled. No one panicked. No one screamed. It was like it hadn't happened. That's what disturbed them the most. No witnesses could recall his face. No one noticed his hands. Nothing stood out, not his clothes, not his voice. Just a ghost in a ball cap and sunglasses. The FBI had almost nothing. No fingerprints. No useful footage. Surveillance cameras, outdated and misaligned, offered nothing but blurry outlines. But then, a break. A neighbor who lived behind the bank recalled seeing something odd, a man sprinting from the building. And then, a cloud of red mist exploding from his bag. The die pack. It confirmed everything. This was the guy. But the witness had one more detail. A license plate. Nevada plates. Full number memorized. Suddenly, the ghost had a vehicle. The plate led to a motel off the Las Vegas Strip. But no one there had seen anything. A deeper dive revealed a name. A man in Wyoming had financed the car. But he was hundreds of miles away the day of the heist, interviewing for a postal job. His boss confirmed it. Solid alibi. So the FBI asked, if he didn't have the car, who did? That's when they met his ex-wife, Carlita. Living in Albuquerque. Working a steady job. Lots of people borrow my car, she said. I don't keep track. The story seemed plausible, until she mentioned the gas tank. It was lower than when I parked it, she said. A quiet confession, or a slip. The agents searched the car. No red dye. No trace. But something didn't sit right. Carlita was no longer a suspect. But she'd just earned a new label. Person of interest. Weeks passed. Then months. Just when the case felt cold, he returned, with a vengeance. Between March and May of 1999, 6 banks across Albuquerque fell victim to a lone man in a ball cap. Always alone. Always quiet. Always gone before anyone realized what had happened. The FBI scrambled. Surveillance footage confirmed it. Same height. Same build. Same composure. The calm, methodical robber from December was back. He didn't just reappear. He escalated. 1 week, he hit 2 banks in a single day, cool as ever. The next, he vanished again, like smoke through a crack in the wall. He never left fingerprints. Never used the same getaway car. Never touched a thing. To the public, he was a ghost. To the FBI, he was a nightmare in slow motion. As the months rolled on, a shift began. The calm facade started to crack. The man once described as chill and collected was now becoming unpredictable and dangerous. He started jumping over counters. He demanded cash from multiple tellers at once. His voice, once level, turned sharper, colder. Witnesses said he seemed agitated, frantic, like a man chasing a clock only he could hear. Agents feared the worst. They suspected he was using drugs. Methamphetamine, fast, euphoric, and brutally addicting. It made sense. The erratic behavior, the wild energy, the rising aggression. And now, he wasn't just showing the gun. He was ready to use it. The FBI knew it was only a matter of time before someone got hurt. Or worse, killed. Then, he said something no one expected. During one of his more erratic robberies, he barked at the teller, "This is for the starving kids in Mexico." It was bold, absurd, and it got the media's attention. In coordination with local press, the FBI assigned him a nickname, one that would stick, one that would inflame his ego. They called him Robbing Hood. It was part strategy, part PR, a way to stir the public's interest, a name that would make headlines. And it worked. News anchors ran segments. Papers printed his blurry face. Crime Stoppers lit up with calls. But something else happened, too. He started to believe his own legend. He walked into a bank, said Agent Tanberg, and told the teller, "You know who I am. I'm Robin Hood." To the public, it was folklore. To the FBI, it was the first real window into his twisted self-image. The FBI leaned in hard. They staked out banks, patrolled his preferred hunting grounds in northeast Albuquerque. They waited for him to make a mistake, for the myth to fall apart. But nothing. They followed tips, investigated lookalikes, cross-referenced recent parolees. But he was always one step ahead. He knew their patterns. He read their playbook. They weren't hunting him. He was dancing around them. And with every robbery, he got bolder, faster, and more violent. The city was holding its breath. And the agents were running out of leads. He robbed 6 banks. Then 8. Then 14. And not a single fingerprint. Not a single name. But what if the person closest to him already knew the truth? 8 months. That's how long he ran free. 14 banks. Dozens of lives threatened. And still, no name. No trail.
No arrests.
Then, one quiet night, the phone rang. On the other end was a familiar voice. Carlita, the ex-wife. This time, her tone was different. Shaky. Urgent. "I can't live like this anymore," she said. "I know who he is. I know what he's done. And I need him out of my life. Now." Special Agent Scott Campbell leaned forward. This wasn't a lead. This was a confession. "His name," she said, "is Byron Chubbuck. He's my husband." Carlita told agents Byron had recently left town, packed up and drove off to St. Louis. She insisted they come to her apartment for the full story. The agents offered to meet in a safer location, but she refused. "He's gone," she said. "You'll be safe here." But the agents weren't convinced. Before entering, they radioed dispatch. Logged the address. Weapons holstered, but ready. They swept the apartment. No signs of Byron. Just Carlita. Pregnant. Nervous. She confirmed everything. The blurry bank footage? That was him. The aggression? It was getting worse. The threats? Too real to ignore. He said, even if he wasn't around, the gang would come for me. For my baby. Then, a car pulled up outside. Carlita looked out the window. Her face went white. "It's him," she whispered. The agents froze. No time to run. No time to prepare. They ducked into the bedroom, weapons drawn, backs against the wall. Moments later, the front door creaked open. Chubbuck knew. Maybe Carlita tipped him off. Maybe he just sensed it. But then, gunfire erupted. Through the thin apartment walls, Byron opened fire. Agent Campbell fired 2 rounds through the drywall, aiming blind. Silence. Then more shots. 6, maybe 7. Then, click. Reloading. Campbell raised his weapon again. But the figure who appeared wasn't Byron. It was Carlita. The agent deflected his shot, mid-squeeze. The bullet missed. By inches. When the smoke cleared, Carlita's hair was singed. But she was alive. And Byron? Gone. Officers surrounded the building. They searched every unit, except one. 2 doors down, someone spotted movement in a window. Byron had looped around. He wasn't fleeing. He was circling. For 3 tense hours, negotiators called out. No answer. Just silence from behind drawn curtains. Then, suddenly, he made his move. He bolted from Carlita's apartment, trying to flee again. This time, non-lethal rounds met him first. A beanbag to the chest took him down. Hard. But no one was killed. Not the agents. Not Carlita. Not even Byron. For the first time in months, the nightmare was over. Or so they thought. Byron Chubbuck was in custody. But the man who called himself Robin Hood had no plans to stay behind bars. He was locked up, facing 40 years in federal prison for armed robbery, assault, and attempted murder of agents. Most criminals would start counting down the days. Not Byron Chubbuck. Instead, he started playing chess. December 21, 2000. Byron filed a motion. He wanted to fire his attorneys. Claim he was misrepresented. Attempt to withdraw his guilty plea. The motion was legally flimsy, but tactically brilliant. Because it forced one thing to happen. A court hearing. In person. Outside of maximum security. Back on the streets. If anyone had doubts, they wouldn't for long. Byron wasn't done. The courtroom hearing ended without incident. Byron, still calm, was loaded back into the transport van. Shackled at the wrists. Ankles cuffed. Locked in a steel box with other inmates. What they didn't know was that Byron had smuggled a handcuff key. Somewhere along that lonely stretch of road between Albuquerque and the Santa Fe Correctional Facility. He made his move. He unlocked his wrists. Then his ankles. Then, he kicked out the window. A correctional officer heard the bang. Thought it was a crash. Turned just in time to see Byron halfway out the van. The guards tried to react, but they couldn't abandon the other inmates. Just like that, he was gone. The manhunt was instant. Helicopters circled. Dogs combed the desert brush. Every available FBI agent, U.S. Marshal, and Albuquerque police officer joined the chase. Roadblocks were set. Neighborhoods locked down. It was a citywide dragnet. But Byron Chubbuck had a head start. Hours later, a local woman called 911. He forced me into my car, made me drive to the edge of town, said he didn't want to hurt me. She was unharmed. But she gave police a location, a time, a description. When officers arrived, nothing, not even a tire mark. Byron Chubbuck had disappeared. He didn't just escape prison transport. He disappeared into the wind, with federal agents chasing ghosts. But Byron wasn't done. He wasn't hiding. He was planning a return. 1 year. 1 full year passed.
No sightings. No robberies. No arrests.
Byron Chubbuck had vanished without a trace. The case was ice cold. Then, January 16, 2001. Boom! Not 1. Not 2. 6 banks. Robbed. In a single day. All in his old Albuquerque stomping grounds.
Same M.O.
Same sunglasses. Same chilling confidence. And if that wasn't bold enough, some of the banks he hit, we were the exact same ones he'd robbed before. He didn't even care we knew his face, said Agent Tanberg. It was like he wanted us to watch. The myth was back. Robin Hood had returned. Over the next 7 days, Byron hit 3 more banks. In 2 days. In broad daylight. In a city saturated with federal agents. By now, the FBI was desperate. Agents couldn't explain how he kept slipping away. And worse, Byron was getting comfortable. Witnesses said he smiled during robberies. Told tellers, "Don't be scared.
I'm Robin Hood."
But no one believed the story anymore. Not the starving kids in Mexico. Not the noble outlaw angle. They saw him for what he really was. A violent, drug-fueled felon with an ego the size of the city he was terrorizing. January 24, 2001. A strange envelope lands at the front desk of 94 Rock, a local Albuquerque radio station. Inside, a handwritten letter. Signed, Byron Oso Blanco Chubbuck. The note was full of rage. Chubbuck accused police of corruption. Claimed they'd tried to kill him. Demanded airtime to set the record straight. The DJ, TJ Trout, went live. "If you're really Byron Chubbuck," he said, "call this number right now." He called. "You think this is a joke? I've got machine guns. Dude. I'm strapped for war." The fugitive didn't just return to the public. He broadcast himself. FBI agents monitored every second. But Byron was cagey. Never gave his location. Never stayed on the line too long. But one thing was clear, he wanted to be seen. And he wanted control. The FBI had something they hadn't had in 2 years. Physical evidence. Lab technicians tested the letter. The paper was cheap. The envelope is local. But most importantly, a print. Byron's fingerprint. Confirmed. Then came the security footage. The man who dropped off the letter wasn't Byron. But he was familiar. A known Brewtown gang member. Name, Ronald Baker. Surveillance teams moved in. Quiet. Watching. Waiting for Baker to lead them to the ghost. After years of silence, Byron finally slipped. 1 letter. 1 fingerprint. 1 known face. Now the FBI had a trail. Ronald Baker. A known Brewtown gang associate. A low-level player, now under surveillance. FBI agents and Albuquerque PD staked out Baker's mobile home. Day after day. Waiting. Watching. Hoping. Then, a sighting. A man, broad-shouldered, hood up, stepped out briefly. Resembled Chubbuck. But it was too dark.
No confirmation.
They needed a way in. Not guns blazing. Not a raid. They needed eyes inside. And to do that, they'd have to flip someone on the inside. A Brewtown gang member had just been picked up. Carjacking. A state charge, but with federal strings. The FBI made him an offer.
Guerra wire.
Walk inside that trailer. Confirm Chubbuck's inside. In exchange, the feds would back off. Lessen the sentence. Maybe even parole. He hesitated. He knew what betrayal meant in Brewtown. But prison? That was forever. He agreed. The informant walked into the trailer. His chest was wired. His voice was monitored. What he saw made his blood run cold. Byron Chubbuck. Paranoid. Armed. Jumpy. Sitting just feet away. He asked about water. Made small talk. Stayed calm. Then he slipped out. He's in there. His back there, armed. Within minutes, the mobile home was surrounded. Members of the Albuquerque PD gang unit. Repeat offender program. U.S. Marshals. They moved in, stealth, precision, no mistakes. Before we continue, if stories like this fascinate you and you want to stay updated on how AI is shaping the dark web, scams, and the future of cybercrime, go ahead and hit subscribe. Let's keep you informed and ahead of the threats. But before they could close in, a car peeled out. A black vehicle. 2 passengers. One of them was Byron Chubbuck. Detective Richard Lewis was already en route. When he spotted the car, he didn't hesitate. He rammed it. The car spun, skidded to a halt. The passenger door flew open. Chubbuck, blooded, dazed, tried to run. A TC-9 semi-automatic pistol fell from his lap. Officers moved in, guns drawn. No more games. Byron Chubbuck was finally in custody. Nearby, bullets from the crash had pierced a neighboring trailer. Inside, a family slept, unharmed. One more close call in a saga full of chaos. But it was finally over. After years of terror, months of manhunts, and a trail of violence, Byron Chubbuck's story ends not with a bang, but with a crash. Or so it seemed. After 2 years on the run, after robbing over a dozen banks, after a violent shootout, after an impossible escape, Byron Chubbuck was finally off the streets. He stood before a federal judge once more. This time, there would be no plea deal.
No escapaban. No courtroom stand.
Chubbuck was convicted on multiple charges. Armed bank robbery, attempted murder of federal agents, illegal firearm possession, escape from federal custody. The judge didn't flinch. 40 more years. Added to his original 40. Byron Robin Hood Chubbuck was sentenced to 80 years in federal prison. For years, the media had painted him as something more than a criminal. A vigilante. A rebel. A kind of outlaw with a cause. He fed that myth. Told tellers the money was for starving kids. Bragged on live radio about injustice. He signed his name Robin Hood. But the truth. Byron wasn't feeding kids. He was feeding an addiction. To meth, to money, to power. He didn't give a dime to anyone, said Special Agent Scott Campbell. He spent it on drugs. He terrorized tellers. He threatened families. The myth was a lie. A smokescreen for a man who thrived on chaos and enjoyed watching the FBI chase their own tail. In the end, the only thing real about Robin Hood was the damage he left behind. Behind prison walls, Byron Chubbuck became just another inmate. His face is no longer on the news. His name, forgotten by most, but in federal records. In the memories of those agents who stared down his gun. In the nightmares of tellers forced to empty drawers at gunpoint. His story lives on. And his legacy. Not a hero. Not a Robin Hood. Just a violent man who thought the world owed him something. And burned everything down trying to take it. If you found this story as intense and unbelievable as we did, hit the like button. And subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that prove reality is always stranger and darker than fiction. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and never trust a man who calls himself a legend.